Hello, welcome to BODHI Yoga Online. I'm Krista Cahill, and joining me is Chris to demonstrate a few poses this morning. So if you're coming in to practice, find your yoga mat. Let's get started in Sukhasana, just an easy cross-legged position, nothing formal. And you can just sit up very tall. Notice if maybe you need to supplement an elevated surface underneath you. You could use a pillow or a bolster, block, anything that is going to help you to lengthen your spine. And once you get into an elongated position, bring your hands either resting on your knees or in your lap. Close your eyes. And let's begin with just a few moments of quiet breathing. Relaxing the shoulders as you start to create a little more length with each inhale. And take a very long inhale. Open your mouth, exhale. Doing that again, inhale. Open the mouth, maybe a sigh out. Last one, inhale. Letting all the breath out. And when you're ready, let your eyes open. And take a moment, stretch your arms out sideways like an airplane. And you're going to start by just making little mini circles with your fingertips. So just observe what direction you're going in, and then make the circles come from your shoulders. And then you can gradually start to make the circles a little more medium-sized. And then you can take a large circular pattern when you're ready. And observe what's happening in the shoulders. Which direction do the shoulder blades move in when the arms are going in a certain place? And then you can come back into a medium shape. Again, just observing, especially if you feel like the neck muscles are controlling the arms. See if you can relax the neck and use the muscles more located in the sides of your ribs under your armpits. And then make those little mini circles again. And then just stop for a moment, stretch from the sides of the ribs, from the serratus muscles, the arms really wide, open, and press the shoulder blades away from the spine. And now you're going to go the opposite direction. So start with a little mini circle going in the opposite direction. Yeah, good. Try to keep those upper part of the shoulder where it attaches to the neck relaxed. You go to the medium-sized circles. See how that alters your experience. And then making really large circles, finding the full circular range of motion with your upper arms and shoulders. And then bringing it back to the medium circles with your shoulders. And then to that mini circle as we finish here. And then stretching your arms just straight out. So the feeling is that the movement comes from the sides of your ribs. The shoulder blades are being pulled away from the central channel. And as the spine grows up taller, you feel it moving through the shoulders without having the shoulders lift up. Now rotate your arms in an external rotation. And again, from the sides of the body, you're going to go out and all the way up as big as you can with your arms. And take a very big inhale, lifting the spine, even lifting the shoulders up as high as you can. And now as you exhale, turn your navel towards the right knee. You can bring your right hand back onto fingertips on a block or on the floor, and then left hand on right knee. Again, shoulders relaxed down. Engage lifting through the spine instead. And with each exhalation, you're going to try to turn from your belly, the navel a little further across, and then eventually, if your neck is not opposed to it, turn and look towards the right shoulder. Keep moving the elbow as far away from the body as you can so it stacks above the right wrist. Last two, the left shoulder relaxing down as you're turning around on your axis. One more. Now bring your gaze to the opposite shoulder if your neck is not opposed to it. Take an extra breath in here. And then as you exhale, release to the center. Walk your hands out in front of you. And if you need to remove the prop underneath you, you can, or you can keep it, and just start to walk your hands forward. Keeping the sitting bones anchored down either to the floor or your prop. Get as much lateral or sideways movement in the bottom side ribs as you can with each inhale. So this helps to activate the diaphragm muscle. And when the diaphragm is activated, it helps to release. There's all these little fascial connections into your hip sockets. So it helps your hips to be more mobile. Last two breaths here. Begin to, on an inhale, bring the hands closer to your legs, walking your spine up into a vertical shape. And then you can change the crisscross of your legs, bringing your other leg in front. Very good. And now you're going to take the arms straight out in front of you, all the fingers together, and you're going to hook your thumbs. The objective is to keep the elbows straight. So try one time bending your elbows straight out to the side and pull your thumbs with your elbows bent. So what you're going to notice is actually pulling the elbows and thumbs is much easier when you do them simultaneously. Now, try to keep the same amount of pressure of the thumbs pulling apart, but straighten the elbows. So you understand that what you're pulling apart is not the elbows, but you're using it to pull apart the upper shoulders and the chest muscles. How much space can you pull apart? And then begin to lift your arms up into the vertical position. So you can, when you're not weight bearing, lift the shoulders up over your head. Yeah, there you go. This is going to help to lift and to create length in each little disc between the vertebrae. You can go up, 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 use your arms, and then once you can't go up anymore, without bending the elbows, gently pull the inner shoulders apart, but don't stop going up. So this is the challenge. Open and create space, yet maintain height and elongation. Take another big breath. Now turn your palms in to face each other. Go up a little bigger as you inhale, and keep the spine going up, and simply just lower your arms down beside you. Feel the crown of the head still rising. And we're going to do the other side, so take your arms out. You're going to cross the other thumb on top. This time we won't bend the elbows, so you're not going to simulate that. But the thumbs pulling out represents the shoulder blades and chest pulling apart. The arms, forearms, elbows, and triceps are cutting in towards the midline. When you're ready, on an inhale, from the sides of the body, helping and assisting, lift the shoulders, the spine, all the way up. There's no reason why you can't go up, up, up. See how much length you can accrue. And then without dropping the shoulders, just separate the shoulders away, yes, away from the midline. So actually the shoulder will lift from out in the side part of your rib under your armpit. And you can use those serratus muscles to help grab on and lift up the shoulders from the strength of the core body. Go a little bit higher and then turn your palms in to face each other. Take a very big breath in. Now twist your navel towards the left knee. Bring your left hand back. Maybe you're using your fingertips on a block today. Right hand on left knee. And you're bringing up not the shoulders to the ears, but you're bringing up the spine here. And as the spine pushes you up taller, maybe that allows your shoulders to relax down a little bit more. And if it doesn't bother your neck, you can turn the gaze, Parshva feeling the shoulder relax down as the crown of the head pushes up, as if you were headstanding on the ceiling. Last 3. Each breath, your waist might taper a little more, twisting you deeper. 2. Now bring your neck into the opposite gazing position. Take a breath in, both shoulders relaxing. And then when you're ready on an exhalation, release your hands to the front and begin to travel forward into a forward stretch. A little gentle release for the glute medius here. The sitting bones reaching towards the prop or towards the floor. And then your spine is jumping slightly up and moving over the legs. So it's an up and over movement rather than just a downward and forward movement. Give yourself a few of those lateral or diaphragmatic breaths. See if you can increase the distance between the sides of your waist and the shoulders. Last breath. When you're ready, begin to walk, travel with your hands. You can bring the hands behind you. Take your legs out in front for a moment. Let your knees breathe. And then we're going to come up into Tadasana, into the standing position at the top of the mat. So when you feel ready, grab what you need, come up to the top of the mat. Organize your feet. You might need to keep your feet a little bit separated. You might prefer to have them all the way touching. Just observe that the objective we are trying to achieve in Tadasana is to place the feet in a really thoughtful and careful way that gives us the most downward force possible. So open up your toes and drop the toes down on the ground. So they don't have these scrunched wrinkle effect, but they're dropping and elongating forward away from your ankles. And then the heels, you can releve your heels up off the mat, just like a millimeter, and try to feel that your toes don't wrinkle, they don't crunch up and create like a white effect. But the toes are relaxed and reaching forward, and now you're gonna stretch your heels back as far as you can and let the heels touch the mat, feeling that now the toes and heels are energetically moving in opposite directions. As you do that, press down through your inner big toe and heel. Press through your outer baby toe and heel. And see if you can create a feeling of bringing the hips over the front part of the ankle. So just at the front of the heel, the weight resides. And let the sides of your legs, the inner thighs and the outer thighs lift up. The sides of the pelvis lift up. And eventually, all 4 sides of the spine evenly lifting up. So you won't have to manufacture a lift in your shoulders or those neck muscles at the base of your neck where it meets the shoulders. Crown of the head, the ears literally being pulled up towards the ceiling. Last 3 breaths here. This is Tadasana, one of the most important forms to practice in yoga. Last breath. Now begin this movement by externally rotating your shoulders as much as you can, and on an inhale, reach your arms all the way out as far to the sides and up as you can. If it's possible, shift your hips slightly forward and look up. And then on an exhale, open your arms even wider, bend the knees if it's necessary, and bring your hands all the way down. This is called Uttanasana, forward fold. Now, when we come to Ardha Uttanasana, we are trying to engage the spine. So what we might need to do is bend the knees, okay, and then lift the torso halfway up. Okay, if you prefer to keep the legs straight, Chris is going to show bringing the hands onto the tibias and being able to create both a straight, elongated spine and legs at the same time. Okay. In order to bring the hands back down, you'll probably have to bend the knees and place the hands back on the ground. Relax your head all the way down into Uttanasana. Now take your arms out to the side with external rotation. You're going to press the earth away and come all the way up. Keep the spine this lifted as you exhale, just the arms release by your side, Samastitihi. External rotation, inhale, both arms go up. Open your arms, shoulders even wider as you exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, either come to the fingertips with knees bent or hands on the tibia. As you exhale, crown of the head points straight down. Open the arms, use the whole entire breath to come up. Keep inhaling. Then just the arms release down as you exhale, Samastitihi. We'll do one more, Ardha Surya Namaskara. Inhale, both arms up. Open your shoulders as you exhale, descend all the way down. Halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, inhale. Descend again as you exhale, crown of the head down. Open your arms, press the earth away with your feet. Inhale, lift your pelvis, lift your spine, lift your shoulders. And then exhale, just the shoulders and arms release. We'll take it with a lunge now. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale as you descend on Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha, halfway lift. And now exhale, just lunge with your left leg as far back as possible. Okay, and you can be way up on your fingertips, or some of you might want to try using blocks like this. Okay, so what we're trying to create here is a 90-degree angle in the front leg, which means that the right hip has to drop down a good amount. Okay, and it's also a feeling not just of dropping down, but of dropping down and firming in underneath you. So the outside of the hip, the gluteus medius, is firming underneath you. Okay? If you can maintain that firming of your front hip, it might be easy now for you, without changing anything, to just float the arms back by your hips. The spine, crown of the head, reaching forward. Last 3, 2, and 1. Bring your hands back to the blocks, lower your back left knee onto the ground. And we're going to do a little mini Anjaneyasana, so point your toes, and when you're ready, take your arms out and all the way up. Okay, now you're going to interlace your fingers together, and you're going to turn your palms open towards the ceiling. Again, practice keeping your inner elbows straight and opening the inside part of your shoulder blades away from the spine and lifting, elevating the hands higher. Last 3. Feeling that outer right hip still firming in underneath you. 2. Take another big breath. See if you can go up, up, up with the central channel. Exhale, now release your hands down. So now you're going to use the blocks or be on your fingertips at home if you don't have blocks. And we're going to do half Hanuman, Ardha Hanumanasana. Move the hips back, flex your right heel, and see if you can activate the foot, the Pada Bandha, so that you're really reaching forward with your foot from that front part of the heel. And then if you can maintain this engaged, elongated spine, you can start to slowly bend your elbows and bring your chest towards your leg. So for most of us, Chris, show what we don't want to do. So we don't want to just bend at the neck and this upper part of the back. It's too easy to round here. It's just boring, very, very boring. So if you can engage the spine and bring the abdomen down first onto the thigh, then after that, after you get an extreme amount of length and flexibility in your hamstring, maybe the chest will come down and touch your knee, but really it will be a long time before your head ever comes down to rest chin on shin. Take another big breath. See if you can get even more elongation. And then as you exhale, you're going to straighten your arms if they were bent. Bend your front leg back into a lunge position. You can set the blocks off to the side if you're using it, or bring your hands flat if you were on fingertips. Curl your back toes under, and don't let the right hip lift up. Just lift only the left leg and come into a plank position from here. So very discreetly stepping back. Okay. Feel free to use the knees on the ground if this straight leg version is too much for you. Use your breathing in the side lateral ribs to create a little bit more buoyancy in the side waist. Last 2. Outer forearms squeeze in, inner shoulders lift up. Last breath in. and simple downward facing dog. So the first dog of today, stretch back and feel free to bend the knees. For most of us, we need that. And you can try at a really slow, gentle pace to straighten one leg and then the other and make the dog walk a little bit. Observe your breathing. Any desire to force the body into shapes, you want to let that go immediately. We're not here to be forceful. We're here to do our best to maintain a harmony with these natural laws that govern our body. And then when you're ready, you're going to come with both heels stretching back, toes forward, and the heels may not be touching the ground. So again, don't force that. Press your two hands, look up, and you're going to step your left foot forward between your hands, then your right foot forward between your hands. Inhale, elongate fully, and exhale, release your head down. Take both arms and shoulders out and all the way up with your inhalation. Tadasana as you exhale, Samastiti here. Inhale, both arms reach out and all the way up. All the way down as you exhale, Uttanasana. Ardha, maybe you put your hands on the shins if you need to today. As you exhale, you're going to lunge way back with the right leg. So now we're going to bring the left leg into a 90-degree angle. You're very welcome to use blocks or just be high up on your fingertips. Placing the left shin just above the front of your heel, so Pada Bandha, and then getting the outside part of your left hip to firm in underneath your body. Like that. There you go. Use the outside of the hip, so it's called the gluteus medius, firming it in, and maybe now you can just test how firm can the hip stay as the arms float back, spine and crown of the head reaching in the opposite direction of the right heel. Last 3. All the way through the central channel, lengthen 2. And bring your fingertips to the blocks. Gently bring your right knee down, release the toes into a point position, and when you're ready, mini Anjaneyasana. Okay. If you can remember, you're going to change the crisscross of your fingers and invert the palms. So dial in your focus, your awareness at keeping your inner arms straight. Without bending the elbows, you're pressing your inner shoulder blades, chest apart, and then lifting the arms as high as you can, like you're pushing the weight of the ceiling off of the crown of the head. Last 3. Yes, like that. 2. Go up a little bit bigger. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down. Use the blocks if you need to for Ardha Hanumanasana. We're going to shift the pelvis back over the right knee. Flex the foot so you press forward through the front top heel. Then you're going to start to create a little engagement in the muscles of your spine. So obviously the lumbar is going to stay slightly rounded until we can get the head, the cervical, the upper thoracic to engage. This forward movement of the upper spine is what brings the lower spine down onto the quadricep. Bending the elbows is going to increase that. So if you find that you're overwhelmed, you might go back to a straight arm position. Breathe as you move into these big muscles behind your thigh. Last 2. One more breath. Now you're going to return into a lunge position as you exhale, shift the blocks off to the side, and come with your hands flat on the ground. So feel that the hands go down, the wrists lift up, back toes curl under. The left hip stays low as the right leg lifts. Okay? And your hips are not bopping up and down. They're staying down as you move the left foot to join the right foot, a very discreet transition. Okay, and now press all of the toes. Notice how the little rebellious baby toe doesn't always want to carry its weight. Outer ankles firm in, inner heels reach back, and now send a line of energy on both sides of the spine forward as your heels drive back. Last 3. Very good, that's it. 2. Draw the sides of the forearms in, draw the backs of the wrists up, and downward facing dog in a direct transition. Again, if you need to walk the dog a little bit or wag your tail from side to side, do it just as mindfully as you're taking the approach with the other postures. So this is a continuous stream of consciousness, breathing. When you're ready, you're going to look up. You're going to bring your right foot forward between your hands, your left foot forward between your hands, elongate fully, Ardha. Exhale, descend on Uttanasana. Both arms sideways. Inhale, go all the way as big as you can up, keeping the length in the lumbar, lower the arms, and exhale, Samastitihi. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, both arms reach up. Exhale as you go all the way down onto the yoga mat, hands flat if possible. Inhale, halfway lifting up. Step back into a top of a push-up plank pose. Stay here for 1 inhale. And now track the elbows straight back in line with the center of the wrist as you lower Chaturanga. Very good. Cobra or upward dog, your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Separate your feet a little bit larger than the hips. See if you can feel each knuckle, starting with the thumb, the base of the index, middle, ring, and pinky, pressing down. The fingers drop and extend forward. Counter to that, the palms of the hands are pulling back towards your toes, lifting the wrists, lifting the armpits. Last 2. Then use that to press the hips even further back. Look up. Exhale when you're ready, bend your knees. Inhale, march or jump, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, arms all the way out overhead, reach up. Tadasana, exhale, Samastitihi. Again, inhale, arms reach. Exhale all the way as you release your hands to the earth. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, either jump or march back, Chaturanga, your choice. Keeping the forearms lifted, Cobra or upward dog, inhale. Down dog, exhalation. Okay, see if you can organize your breathing. Moving laterally through the bottom ribs. Last 2 breaths. End of the exhalation, bend the knees, move the hips back, and inhale, jump or step, feet into Ardha. Exhale, descend on Uttanasana. Both arms up, inhale, Urdhva Hasta. Exhale, Samastitihi. 1 more A salute. Inhale, arms up. Exhale all the way down to the earth. Come halfway, inhale. Floater step to Chaturanga as you exhale. Inhale, Urdhva or Cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha, and breathe. So from the hands, the pressure going down. Your arms, the undercarriage, is being pushed up. That's where you want to then move the hips back from your shoulders, being supported by the downward force of the hands. Last 2. Just see how much you can take the hips back, even as you look forward, bend your knees, and then jump or step as you inhale. Exhale, crown of the head straight down. Both arms, inhale all the way up. Arms at your sides, exhale. Now you're going to separate your feet a little wider than your hips, and maybe for some of us we need to turn the toes out a little bit. We're practicing Malasana here, and on an exhalation you're going to drop down into a squat. Let the weight of your pelvis help to release the muscles along the lumbar. So you have QLs and you have erector spinae, which are the bigger muscle groups, which can hold some tightness. Now you're going to walk your hands forward in front of you. So by the way, if this is hard on your knees, you can always put a block under your hips like this. And we can take it out though. So now walk both arms over towards the right, and you're going to tuck your right shoulder to the inside of the right knee, that little vastus medialis muscle. Good, and now start to turn your left shoulder open and reach your left arm on the diagonal away from you. You can stay with this, or if you want to try internally rotating, bringing the bent elbow around behind your back. Some of you might even be able to do with both arms a little bit of a bind. It's early to do this, but maybe for some of you, you want to try that. Otherwise, just do with the top arm straight or top arm in a half bind. Last 3. Turning around the right thigh with your spine. 2. Release the bind. If you have it, take the arm straight out in front of you for a breath, and then walk your hands to the left. Tuck your left deltoid into that little vastus medialis on the inner left knee. Take your right arm up. Stay as you are, or internal rotation. Bend the elbow, half bind, or some of you may be taking both arms into internal rotation, full bind. Yeah, you're using the strength of the spine here. So the shoulders are basically completely useless for you here. You're just turning with the strength of your spine and obliques. Last 2. And 1. Release your hands down in the center for a breath, or 2. And then walk your hands a little closer, lift your hips up, and turn your feet back into a parallel position. You can also walk your feet all the way in next to each other if you prefer. Inhale, elongate your spine forward. Exhale, crown of the head down. Okay, now you're going to move your hips, so the top part of your hamstring where it meets your glute, as far back as you can. Then you're going to start to bend your knees and drop your hips down. Yeah, so the hips are going back and down. Now, once you get your hips parallel to the ground, okay, then you start to turn your sitting bones towards your heels, but not before the thighs are parallel to the ground. Okay, so straighten the legs and come into Uttanasana for a second. So going into chair pose, there's 2 parts to the movement. The first part of the movement is the hips go back. The sitting bones go back as you bend your knees. And ideally, we get the thighs to a 90-degree angle. Once you get to 90 degrees, then you turn your sitting bones to face your heels. And then straighten your legs one more time. We're going to do this last time. So you have an opportunity to practice the sequencing of your body. Bring the upper thighs back and bend the knees until you reach 90 degrees. Once you reach 90 degrees, then turn your sitting bones towards your heels. And now slowly push your legs up to straight. Good. Bring your hands to your hips, and you're going to come up to standing. So now we're going to try it from the standing position. Okay, so you're going to take your arms into external rotation. Inhale, lift your arms up. Okay, now you're going to move the tops of your thighs back, bend your knees, and if you can get yourself honestly to a 90-degree position in your thighs, then you're going to stay and you're going to turn your sitting bones to face towards your heels and breathe for 3. 2, keep turning your sitting bones to the heels and stand all the way up to Tadasana and lower your arms, Samastiti. So I think that in the fitness world they call these squats, but we just call it chair pose. Turn your arms, inhale, reach up. Stay with your spine going up. Move the top of your thigh way back. Bend your knees. See if you can get to 90 degrees. For those of you who can get to 90 degrees, turn your sitting bones towards your heels. Now press your feet away and stand all the way up and release your arms down, Samastiti. Last time. Okay, turn your arms external, reach your arms up, move the top part of your thigh as far back and down as you can. Once you can't go any further back and down, then turn your sitting bones towards your heels. And this time you're going to bring your hands to the earth. Slowly keep your sitting bones turning to your heels and press the legs up against that. Very good. Inhale, look forward, shift the weight into your hands. Exhale, march or jump your way to Chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, let's take just a little fun stretch. Lift your right leg and stack open your hips for a couple breaths. Yeah, you can bend the knee if it feels good. Even maybe circling the ankle around. I mean, some of the more ancient yoga texts really talk about the flexibility of the ankles being one of the most important things for the flow of energy. Okay, and then you're gonna switch legs, taking the left leg up, stacking, opening your hips, bending the knee. If you want to, circle the ankle around and see if you can start to break up some tensions there. And then when you're ready, come into a full downward facing dog. You're going to shift into a plank position when you're ready. Draw the forearms up, the inner shoulders higher. Now lift your right knee into your chest, and we're going to hold for the count of 3. This a little higher, this a little lower. 2, very good. And step the foot all the way now between your hands. You're coming up into a balanced crescent pose. So take your time coming up, finding the balance. Now you're going to slowly straighten your front leg. So this is a very challenging pose because your back heel is floating. Okay. And now feel the top part of your right thigh moving back as you bend the knee. So it's a very similar action to going into chair pose in that front leg. Once you reach 90 degrees in the front leg, turn your sitting bone towards your front heel and use that to again straighten both legs coming up, and as much as you can lift the front of the pelvis. One more time. You're going to move the top of the right hamstring back as you bend the knee. Once your thigh gets to 90 degrees, then turn your sitting bone towards the heel. See if you can use that to push the arms and spine all the way up. If you can, maybe you touch both hands together. And then as you exhale, release your hands down to the ground. And just simply step back into a plank position. Bring your left knee up to touch your chest. 3 counts here. So we want the sacrum as high as the upper back. We don't want the upper back higher. So lift your sacrum a little higher. Last breath in. Yes, now step. Much better. Okay, come up to balance, crescent. Very good. So when you're ready, start to slowly bring the front leg into a straight position, pelvis up. Your upper left hamstring goes back as you start to rebend the knee. So the sitting bone at first is pushing back away from you as you bend the knee. However, if you can reach 90 degrees, then I'm going to ask you to turn your sitting bone towards your heel and use that to straighten the leg to bring you up. So the pelvis lifts up. Very good. Last time. Move the upper hamstring back as you bend the knee. Once you reach 90, then turn your sitting bone. Oh yeah, and hold this for 3. Push the spine up from your pelvis going up. 2. Up, up, up as high as you can. And then as you exhale, release both hands down. Very good. Step into a plank position. Take an inhale. Lower down all the way onto your belly as you exhale. Good. Okay, we're going to come into Sphinx pose. So you can bring yourself back a little bit so your elbows can be in front of your shoulders slightly. Very good. And then lift just one leg and stretch it a little further back and then set it down, and then the other leg up and a little further back and set it down. The forearms are pressing down and pulling slightly against the sticky. The objective of what we're trying to get is the frontal ribs magnetizing back to the hip bones magnetizing forward, so you have a really, really nice consolidated energy. And now we're going to ask the spine to work. So the ears press straight back until they're in line with the shoulders, and you start to feel, oh, the upper part of the spine can arch. It's just really difficult. So you have to take a few moments to get into that groove of creating an engagement in the upper part of your spine, not using the belly relaxing to achieve the illusion of that movement. Last 2. Chin a little higher, right there. 1 more. See if you can arch, arch, arch. And then you're going to curl your toes under. Try to keep that engaged. Either on your knees or with straight legs, lift your sacrum up to be the height of your upper back and breathe for 3. Down a little there. There you go. 2, chin just a little bit right there. Last breath in. And you're going to release down onto your tummy again. We're going to take cobra pose. The elbows are pointing exactly straight back in line with the center of the wrists. The sacrum releases away from the lumbar. And again, the sequence is first the upper back engages. You work the upper spine. And then when you're ready, if it's possible, you come into upward facing dog, drawing the sides of the forearms in and the wrists upwards. Keep the wrists lifting up as you go to downward facing dog on an exhalation. Taking a few breaths in down dog, see if you can organize so that your feet are connecting all the toes down. The inside edge of your big toe and the little pinky toe are evenly pressing. Last 2. Practice moving your hips even further back as you look forward. Exhale, finishes, and inhale, march or jump your feet to your hands. Exhale as you release, crown of the head straight down. Okay, move the upper hamstrings back and down. If 90 degrees occurs, sitting bones turn to heels, arms reach up. And then use this to stand up. And as you exhale, lower your arms down. Good. Chair pose. Inhale, arms up, back and down with your hips. Good. Exhale, fold all the breath out. Inhale, shift the weight into your hands. Jump or step as you exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, urdhva mukh or cobra. Exhale, adho mukh. Step the right foot forward, turn your left heel, Virabhadrasana, and come all the way up. We're going to do 5 breaths. So if you can't get the front leg to 90 degrees, your upper hamstring is still going to be pointing back towards your heel. So this is going to be great for engaging the lumbar muscles. For those of you who can get down to 90 degrees, then you take the sitting bone in the direction of your front heel. You use that to lift your abdominals, the front of your pelvis, because you already have your low back engaged. And now all 4 sides of the torso up, up, up. Last inhale. Exhale, arms wide, both hands down. Step into a top of a push-up. Chaturanga or down dog as you exhale. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward dog. Okay, and you're going to lift, place your left foot forward, Virabhadrasana. The back foot at an angle, 45 degrees, and then both arms up. So you have to just observe what your body is needing. Maybe today you're not able to get to 90 degrees, so today you're working more on engaging your lumbar muscles. If your thigh is able to reach parallel to the ground, then you're actively turning your sitting bone of the left leg towards your left heel. You're using the back and the front of your abdomen to lift and to create that height. Last breath in, if you can, go up even as you go down, and then release both hands to the mat. You'll take an inhale in plank. You decide as you exhale, chaturanga or down dog. Inhale, fully lifting the wrists. Exhale and taking a few breaths, Adho Mukha. Spreading your toes, dropping your toes and reaching them forward away from the heels and ankles. Very good. Last 2. Pushing your hips continuously back as you look forward, march or jump, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, descend, Uttanasana. Move the hips way back and down into Utkatasana chair. And then from here, stand, reach up, 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 and lower just the arms, Samastitihi. Very good. Okay, now you're gonna open your legs 70 centimeters to face the right side of the mat. Very good. Okay, take your arms parallel, so the arms are at the height of the shoulders. Okay, and now what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn your palms open towards the ceiling. And this is going to help the shoulders to externally rotate. The wonderful thing about our arms is that we have a radial bone, which then, if we hold the arms in this position, we can turn just the palms of the hands, just the wrists over. So that's the radial bone that we have to thank for that. So we are able to keep the external rotation in the shoulders. Now your left toes are going to come in at 15 degrees angle. Your right foot is going to go out at a 90-degree angle. The pelvis is going to stay upright, and then as you exhale, you're going to bend into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana B position. So from the inside part of your leg, you're making a horseshoe. The inner knee is pressing out, and the outer knee is pulling back as the top part of your outer right thigh, the greater trochanter, energetically connects to your back outer heel. Last 3. All 4 sides of the pelvis lifting evenly. 2. Keep your arms exactly the same. Slowly lift your right leg up to straight. Reverse your feet, turn the right toes in at a 15 degrees. Turn your entire left leg open. Okay. Keeping the pelvis upright, bend your left knee. Okay. Try to imagine that horseshoe of energy. So from the top of your inner left leg, you're moving out towards the inner knee. The inner knee rolls around to the outer knee, and the outer knee pulls back towards your outer left thigh. The greater trochanter at the top of the thigh moves energetically towards the right outer heel, and you breathe here for 3. Everything up, up, up through the spine, crown of the head, shoulders wide. 2. Take a big inhale. Cartwheel the hands down for chaturanga, or you can exit plank to down dog. Inhale, up dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Take a few moments in down dog and breathe. Feel the strength of your shoulders assisting the hips in moving back. Last 2. Bigger breath in. Exhale, bend the knees. Keep moving the hips back. And as you inhale, jump your feet or walk your feet. Exhale, Uttanasana. Very good. Inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Good. And then stand Samastitihi Tadasana. Very, very good. Okay. So now we're going to take a little counter pose from Warrior 2. We're going to do Eagle Garudasana. So we're going to lift up the left foot and cross the left leg on top of the right leg, bending both knees. If it's available, some of you can tuck the left toes in around behind your ankle. Okay, now you're going to take your arms out to the side. Turn your arms into an external rotation. And now you're going to bring the left arm under the right arm, so the arm crosses on the right side on top. And if you can, you either grab your wrist or you press the backs of the hands together. Good. See if you can create a feeling that the upper part of your thighs are moving back away from you as you bend your knees. If you're lucky enough to get your hips parallel to the ground, then you turn your sitting bones towards your heels and you see if you can go a little lower, last 3. At the same time, push your elbows up towards the sky, 2. And now you're going to slowly undo the arms and legs simultaneously. Reach your arms up overhead, take a big inhale, stretch, press both feet, arms at your side, Tadasana, exhale. Okay, we're going to do the second side. So you're going to lift the right foot, bend the knee, cross it over, bending both knees. So it's like a funky chair pose, really, is all Garudasana is. Okay, take your arms sideways, external rotation, and now the left arm on top. Twist up the elbows, forearms. Okay, and then concentrate on moving the upper part of your hamstrings back away from you, and then down. If you eventually get your hips as low as the left knee, then you start to turn your sitting bones towards your heel, lifting your elbows higher. And eventually you could maybe imagine how close you could get almost to sitting on your left heel. Last 3, as the elbows go up to the vertical position, 2. And now both legs and arms straight, reach up overhead, press both feet, and now fold. Open your arms and release down, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, either jump or march back. You can go through a vinyasa or simply downward facing dog. With your next inhale, let's take the right leg, lift it up. Exhale, step the right foot between your hands. Okay, and then the back foot, like Warrior 1, is going to be 45-degree angle, but it can be wider. So you can take your right foot and march it over to the right edge of your mat a little bit, and now bring both hands here on the inside. Very good. So again, it's the same exact thing over and over again. The top part of your right hamstring is moving back and your hips are going down. And once you get to that 90 degrees parallel position, then you start to gently engage and turn the sitting bone towards your right heel. Okay, see if you can maintain this. Some of you are going to stay with this variation. Okay, maybe some of you, like Chris, is going to take your right hand to the outside. See how that feels. Okay, and if that feels great and you can keep that really deep contraction of the outer right hip, maybe you take the right arm and you reach underneath and you bring the elbow into a bent position so the hand comes onto your outer right hip. Some of you might even venture towards bringing your left hand to join your right hand. So both shoulders would be, again, in internal rotation. It's like warrior one with a bind. And then maybe you can relax your head down. Keep moving energetically the right sitting bone towards the right heel if you've achieved 90 degrees. Last 3. Here we go. Last 2. And 1. Bring your hands to the inside of your front foot. Okay. Now your back foot is already turned at an angle, so you're going to walk your hands towards the left edge of the mat and turn out your right toes to join your left. And yeah, if you have a line on your mat, line your feet up. Okay. If you don't have a line on the mat, you can just take your heels to the back edge of the mat. Good. Now you're going to take, if you don't have a block, your fingertips, the left fingertips to the floor and the right arm up into the vertical position. Taking a little twist here. Okay, now you can stay just with this nice simple twist, or you can turn the arm externally, so we do the opposite position, and then we reach the arm overhead towards the left side of your mat. Even though that right side of your body is getting a little extra space, see if you can move both sides, even the left waist, even with the right. Last 3, very good. 2, and 1. Now you're going to bring your right hand across to your left ankle behind your left arm. Okay, and you can take your left hand maybe over your head onto fingertips, or you can move the block out a little bit and just start to turn and look underneath your left armpit for these last 3, 2, 1, and release your right hand to join your left hand. So now it's kind of like a down dog on your fingertips, but with the feet in a Prasarita Padottanasana. You can feel how much the hips are able to now come in line with the front of the heel, so your hips are not hanging out behind your heels. How much you can get that height in the sacrum at the top of the pelvis, and yet elongate and work all the muscles that run parallel to the spine, so they assist the crown of the head and the arms at reaching away. Last 2 breaths here. And now you're going to walk your hands simply back until they're underneath your shoulders, okay? Lift your spine so you're in like an Ardha Uttanasana shape. And now you're just going to keep your legs like they are, but you're going to bend the right knee as low as you can in this shape. Yeah, and then walk your hands a little bit towards the right leg. And just see how much this affects the opening of the hip. This is definitely a big hip stretch. Now, if you want to, you can start to lift up your left toes and roll onto the heel and see if maybe your hips can come a little lower. We're not lifting the right heel up. You can use the hands to help you and see how far your hips can come down into this little stretch. 1 more breath in. And now you're going to walk your hands to the front of the mat, turn onto your left toes, and turn your right foot to point the front of the mat. Okay, separate your hands either side. So some of you may be better off using blocks, or you can of course use fingertips. And now you're going to try to straighten out the front leg. Elongate your spine forward. This is a variation on Parsvottanasana, and then as you exhale, bring your abdomen towards your right thigh. Breathe. Good. That's it. Last 2. And then look up. March your left foot forward to join your right foot. Halfway Ardha inhale. Exhale, deep Uttanasana. Good. Inhale, chair pose. And directly from here, hands to the ground. And as you exhale, Uttanasana again. Inhale, half lift. March it or jump it back through the vinyasa. We'll wind up in down dog. Meet us there any way you want. Inhale, lifting the forearms as you arrive, as you exhale. Now, when you're ready, you're going to place your left foot forward. Good. Bring your back foot on a 45-degree angle, and then you're going to walk your left foot more to the left edge of your mat. Bring your hands on the inside. Okay, so you can organize the front leg. If it's not getting to parallel, don't worry about moving the sitting bone to the heel. But if you're like us, we have a nice parallel line, and the sitting bone is going to start to turn towards that left heel. So there is a line of energy connecting the hip and the heel together. This is going to be the containment that allows the left hand to come to the outside of the heel. And for those of you who are very solid in this, taking the left arm into internal rotation onto the left outer hip, taking the right arm into internal rotation and creating a bind. Okay, then eventually the head relaxes down, and you will feel a lot of work in the gluteus medius of the left hip, which is nice. It means that your body is able to contain the energy of the pelvis. Last two. And now release your hands inside your left foot. Okay? And you're just going to walk your hands towards the right, turning your left toes eventually. Okay, use a block or come onto your right fingertips, and when you're ready, take your left arm up. Stay as you are, or you can turn external rotation with the top arm and reach overhead. So whenever we reach the arm overhead, it gives us so much length in our spine. So notice that the arm that's down, that side of the spine has somewhat of a disadvantage, so we have to work a little harder at keeping the sides of the waist even. Last three. A little relaxed here. Yeah, external rotation. Two. And now you're going to bring that top arm, weave it behind your right arm and hold your right ankle. Stay like this, or option, take the top right arm overhead beyond fingertips and turn your body. I actually think it's okay for me personally to let the hip drop down so that your spine and your hips get to twist together. I like that because so many people have so many overstretched ligaments in their sacrum. I don't think for everybody we should be square in the hips, but that's just my personal take on it. And now both arms are going to do like a modified fingertip down dog. Hips are super wide, Prasarita style. If you were to look at your body from the side, the hips are in line with the front of the heel. So when you get that apex height in your sacrum, the spine has something to engage and move away from. It's not just a downward cascading energy into gravity, but your belly lifts up and moves in the direction of your hands. Last two, Uddiyana Bandha. And release. Now you're going to walk your hands in line with your shoulders. And you're going to keep your feet for the first few breaths exactly the same. Bend your left knee. See how low you can go, like the limbo. And then walk your hands towards your left foot a little bit. So this is a great way to just test out to see, what the body's doing. And then if you want, you can lift up your right toes, turn onto the heel, and see if your little tushy can go down a little bit more towards the ground. And breathe here. We're not lifting the left heel up. Keep the left heel grounded, and maybe you just don't go as low. Last two. One more breath. And now you're going to walk your hands towards the left foot, turn onto your right toes, and march around until you're back in the lunge. Bring your hands either side of the foot. Grab the blocks if it's necessary or beyond fingertips. And we're going to do a modification on Parshvottanasana. So when you're ready, you're going to keep as much as you can the height and the tops of the legs, elongate your spine, and then maybe eventually the abdomen comes down against the quadricep. Breathe here, decompress. One more breath in. First, lift the vertebra between your ears. Feel your spine holding the weight of your head up. Step to the front of the mat. Ardha Uttanasana, full elongation. Exhale, descend on Uttanasana. Chair pose. You're going to stay in chair pose this time. Bring your hands into prayer. Twist your left elbow outside right knee or shoulder outside right knee. Same thing here. Lots of us can't get parallel, so you're not turning the sitting bones until you get to parallel. For those of you who can get your hips to parallel, some of you are going to come all the way down into chair 2, which means your sitting bones touch your heels, and it starts to evolve towards Pashasana. Last 2 breaths. Stay in chair pose, arms up, inhale, unwind the twist, right into the second side. Hands heart, shoulder or elbow across. You're turning as you breathe. The upper hamstrings move back, your hips go down. Once you get to 90, turn your sitting bones towards your heels and try to bring your butt to touch your heels. Last 3, chair number 2. 2. 1 breath, unwind, arms up, hitch, chair pose. Hands down, fold Uttanasana. And take a couple extra breaths here. Gather your awareness. You're going to separate your feet a little wider than the hips now. Take your hands behind your back, interlace fingers or use a belt, and take the arms overhead and stretch. And then back off a little bit. You're going to switch the crisscross of your fingers to be the opposite way. Let the arms come overhead and stretch. Breathing. And then inhale, stand up. And release your arms from behind your back. Good. You can bring your feet into Tadasana position. Inhale, both arms reach up. Stretch your spine magnificently. Open your shoulders and arms as you fold, exhaling all the breath out. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, either jump or march, Chaturanga Vinyasa. Inhale, lifting the forearms as you exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, step your right foot forward. Now, almost everybody needs a little cushion under the left knee, so place your left knee down. Maybe you find a towel or a little pillow or something. Point your toes, and then you're going to walk your hands onto your right knee. So once you get to that position where you feel your sitting bone getting connectivity to the front heel, the pelvis is automatically going to be more upright. Okay? If your sitting bone is pointing back, your lumbar is going to be engaged, but the front of your body is not going to have as much participation. So really, it's kind of what do you gain and what do you lose? So if when you pick up the back foot and hold your back foot with your left hand, you feel the pelvis doing an anterior or forward rotation, it may mean that you need to either use a prop like a belt or keep the back foot down. But our objective is to be able to maintain this feeling of the right hip hugging in and moving under and lifting the front abdominal and lumbar areas evenly up. Okay. Now, if it's very simple, easy for you, with your right hand, hold the foot as well. And think of if your back was against a wall, could you imagine the sacrum releasing, sliding down the wall, the back kidney ribs up? Last 3, very good. 2, and now you're going to bring the hands down. And what we're going to do is just a resting pigeon pose. So you're going to walk back with your left foot a little bit, and then bring your right heel to the midline of your mat. And the knee is, for almost all of us, off the mat, pointing a little bit on the diagonal towards the right upper corner. And you can bring the heel as close to your pubic bone as available. Okay, so some of you might actually feel it's necessary to keep your hands holding you up. Others might be able to come down onto the elbows, and we're going to take just a few moments in a little lazy pigeon. So when we work so much with those outer glutes, then it's nice to propose a little stretching. That way we don't end up feeling overworked. And then walk your hands in. We're not going to be here all day. We're going to come into plank position, tucking the left toes, and either go to down dog or you're welcome to take yourself through a vinyasa. When you arrive in down dog on an exhalation, you'll place the left foot forward, and if you need it, cushion under the right knee. Okay, walk your hands up to the left knee. Okay, and the front leg is doing chair pose, basically, right? So for most of us with the low lunge, we can get a lot lower, which means that the work of the glute has to be a little bit more intense. That just ends up pulling more the pelvis down, and it gives you something to lift up the spine with. Of course, the psoas muscle is connected to the lumbar, so it all works together. When you feel ready, if you can maintain everything and pick up the back foot, hold with your right hand. Do your best to keep as much equidistant right-left pelvis as possible. So you'll feel that the left pelvis actually has to drop a little and the right pelvis has to lift a little. Once you receive information and green light, you can take both arms and hold the foot. Yeah. Think of the spine doing a very big engagement, pushing the weight of your brain and head up off the top vertebra. Last 3. Oh yeah, like that. 2. And very slowly release. You're going to construct pigeon, a little lazy pigeon stretch here. If you're able to come down onto the elbows or lower, do what feels like it gives you some counter energy, some releasing energy. Two more breaths. And you're going to walk your hands in, the back toes tuck under, plank pose. Either you take yourself through a vinyasa or you go straight into downward dog. Very good. Okay, now you're going to move in either a jumping action, your knees to the front of the mat, or you're just going to step your knees down by your hands at the front of the mat. Good. And then you're going to come up into a kneeling position. So I think almost everybody needs to fold the front of the mat back at least a little bit, just to cushion the knee joints. And then separate your knees as wide as your hips. Okay, if you don't have a block to set on the outsides of your ankles like this, then Chris, show the tucked toed variation. So this is simply going to elevate your heels closer to you. But there is a lack of stability, balance. So if you can point your toes, it's better. And then you just use the blocks on the outsides of the heels, and it actually is a little taller than your heels mostly. Okay, now you're going to place your hands on your sacrum, on either side of your sacrum, which is the top of your pelvis right under your low back. I'm going to put you down on your sacrum. There you go. A little bit lower. Yeah. And you're imagining the sacrum with your hands being pulled down. Yes. And now work and engage the spine in the opposite direction up. So you know you're not lifting your shoulders. There's no point in that. But really it's the spine lifting. Okay. And now see if you can start to press your pubic bone parallel to the ground forward, and then turn your pelvis so the pubic bone starts to turn your spine back. And then once your head starts to come back towards your feet, you can reach one hand and then the other back onto the blocks. Yeah, there you go. So the primary or premier really movement is the pelvis. The top part of your pelvis is being magnetized by your bottom front ribs, just like Sphinx pose, and then you create an arch shape in your upper back spine. Last 3, arch here, a little bit more. 2. And now the trick is bring your hips back towards your heels and sit. And of course, if this hurts your knees, then you just supplement a block between your heels. If you can, sit on your heels and feel what you've done. So we have 2 things happening. It's a big thigh and front hip opener. But then it's working the spine without the shoulders becoming involved. So one more time, you're going to come up, and you're going to do it like you do in chair pose. Yeah, there you go. Good. Bring your hands onto your sacrum. And you're actually creating a manual with your hands backward rotation, so the sacrum rolls away from the lumbar. And then the lumbar does an exciting little jump up. Okay, so it's not the shoulders, it's really your spine lifting. And as your pelvis moves parallel to the ground forward, as if it was going against a wall, your head is going to go back, so it's equal opposite. Then your arms are going to reach back, and you're going to find those blocks. There you go. And it's the work of the spine engaging. That's it. The pelvis is turning towards the chest, and the chest is being moved gently back towards the blocks. Last 3. Arch where my fingers are as much. Yes. Yes, very good. 2. And now move your hips back as far as you can, and all the way down and rest. Ustrasana. Very good. So we can take the blocks either underneath the hips if you need to, or off to the side. Okay, and now we're going to do a counter posture to that. So if you have the mat rolled up, you're going to unroll so the mat is flat. If you were using a cushion, just take it out. Place your hands midway between your hips, knees. Okay, and then when you're ready, the shoulders are down away from the ears. Okay, and you're going to round at that sacral area and try to lift your hips and knees up off the ground. Maybe eventually the feet can lift and you can hover here for 3. This a little higher if you can. 2, good job. And relax down for a second. So basically this resets us after the back bends. We're going to do one more. And this time, if you can get up and your feet become light enough, you can try pulling your feet through, because we're going to end up sitting down. So when you're ready, press the hands, shoulders away from the ears, round the lumbar, and see if you can come up from your lower back, lifting you. If the feet come off the ground, cross your ankles, try to pull through, and sit. Very good. Excellent. Okay, lie down on your back and take a few moments there. So if you have a yoga belt, or if you just have a belt from your closet at home that you can use, now would be a good time to grab that. We're going to take the right leg into a hamstring stretch. So take your right foot, use the belt, or hold your big toe if you have super duper long arms. Okay, and then you can choose to straighten the left leg out in front. Now the idea is we don't ever put the belt on the heel, we put it on the ball of the foot. If we were to put it on the heel, it could actually cause so much downward compression that it could damage those soft little labrum and cartilaginous tissues in the hip. So the action of the leg is actually that it's pushing up. You're rocketing your thigh off into outer space as much as you can towards the ceiling. And just breathe here for 3. Shoulders are relaxing against the belt. 2. And now you're gonna change. So you're gonna bring up your left leg and then lower the right leg parallel to the yoga mat. Okay, or just hold your big toe. Okay, let the weight of the entire leg be pushed upwards. So there's the muscles gemelli and the obturator, are your pelvic floor muscles, and their job is to push and to create space between the leg and the hip joint. So really great book by Mabel Todd that talks about all of these concepts of creating space and bounciness in the joints. Relaxing the shoulders, so we're not doing this work from the extremities, but this is deep core pelvis engagement. And then you're going to do both legs. So if you can, hold both big toes or just use the belt around the ball of your feet. The sacrum is going to stay on the ground. However, you're feeling the top of the sacrum roll away from the lumbar slightly. So there is a slight back rotation. Relaxing the shoulders. One more breath. And now you're going to bend your knees and remove the belt. If you were using it, you can just set it off to the side. Good job. Okay, now bring your knees towards your chest and you're going to rock forward and back. Give yourself a little momentum to come up and to sit. Very good. And now you're going to sit with your legs straight in Dandasana to begin with. Flexed feet ideally. Relaxed shoulders, and the spine is doing almost all of this work here. Good. Now you're going to take your left arm up into a vertical position. Stretch. Now on the exhalation, you're going to reach your left hand and try to hold your outer right foot. So if you need to, you can bend the knee in order to achieve that. Very good. Now you're going to take your right arm, extend it back behind you with the palm facing open towards the right side of your room. Good, like that. Now you can stay like this, or you could choose internal rotation and to bring the right arm around towards the left top thigh. Okay, and you're taking a little variation on Parshva Paschimottanasana or Parivrita Paschimottanasana. Oh yeah. Breathe here. Exercise the diaphragm. Last two. Last one. Change the gaze. Look towards your toes. Take an inhale. Unwind the twist as you exhale. When you're ready, you can take the right arm up vertical. Exhale, reach across. So you're holding the outside of the foot if possible. Good. Okay, stay as you are, or take the left arm back. Yeah, and then maybe you choose to internally rotate the arm, bend the elbow, and hold the top part of your thigh. And you're breathing and allowing the diaphragm to push sideways and down as you inhale. And it's going to squeeze the air up into your ribcage as you exhale, pushing it out of your body. One more breath. And then you're going to look forward and release. And now we're just going to take both arms up. Regular Paschimottanasana. Inhale, tremendous height. Exhale, come forward, as far forward as you can before you start to feel any kind of rounding. And then we do like a little wave-like breath. As you inhale, you lift and you go forward, belly, sternum, and then exhale. You reach with the top part of your head towards the toes. And if possible, you lift your elbows. Yes, I know that's so difficult to do. Elbows up inner shoulders wide. And your spine is then having a little keyhole to move through between your shoulders. Yeah, you're doing great with this. Last 3. Keep breathing. Doesn't matter what. Move the sides of the ribs sideways. 2. 1 more breath. Inhale, look up. Start with the vertebra between your ears. Engage your spine. And then when you're ready on an exhale, again, you're going to lie down on your back. Hug your knees in. Give yourself a little squeeze, and you can rock side to side this time. So if at this point you wanted to do a shoulder stand or headstand at home, you can just go ahead and do that. We're going to take a pregnant lady twist. So we're going to take the feet onto the edges of the mat. So with your knees bent, feet wide, and you're going to drop your knees to the right simultaneously. Spend a few moments just, accessing breath and awareness. And if you get a green light that you want to open up the IT band on the left side a little more, you cross your right heel over the outer left knee. So it's going to increase that iliotibial band. And then if you want even a little bit more, you can take the left arm overhead like a handstand and feel how that moves, again, just the lumbar where it attaches to the pelvis away from the pelvis. And you can release your arm and your heel, take your legs up as you inhale, and then lower your knees to the opposite left side on an exhale. So many of us might need to stay and just gain, space in this position. But if you already know you can go deeper, cross the left heel. Maybe take the right arm overhead if that's giving you some extra amount of space. And then release your arm, release your heel. You're going to keep your feet wide, but you're going to let your knees kind of come up and into a teepee shape. Yeah. This is great for the sacrum and stretching the piriformis. And just check in. Understand that, we're taking the last few steps down the mountain. Make sure you got everything you needed. Of course, if you're at home, you can take even more time to really stretch and be luxurious. For us, we're going to go into Shavasana now, so we're going to construct a little support for the back of the thighs, which I think makes this pose way more relaxing. Put something under the back of the head. If your upper back is very kyphotic, then your chin will be higher than your forehead, and that's really not great for your cerebral spinal fluid, but for the tension in your neck as well, and just for breathing in general. So when you lay in a pose like this, you want the forehead not to be any lower than the chin. They're meant to be even. Take your arms into a comfortable position so your shoulders can maintain relaxed feeling. And you're going to drift off, letting go of the physical part of the practice, letting go of the breathing. And we descend into the more subtle layers. Shavasana is a different kind of practice than the other poses. We don't want to fall asleep, but we also don't want to wander off in an idea of fascination or a journey of the mind. Stay present, stay connected in the moment, but let go of the physical movements and the controlled breathing. So we start to enter into a meditative quality here. Begin to bring your awareness back just through gently breathing. Subtle movements like wiggling the fingers and toes here in the beginning. If you're using a prop under your legs, you'll bring your feet on top of the bolster or the blocks, whatever you're using, or just on the mat if you're not using a prop. So this will help to give your low back a little moment to adjust. And then you can reach your arms for a big stretch in any direction when you're feeling ready. And now your low back should be ready to bring the knees tight into the chest. So take a few breaths here. There's no time limit. And you're going to roll over to your right side. Again, take as many breaths here as you feel you need to create a good transition. And you'll use the top left hand to push the floor away and to help you to come up, and then you'll just sit in a way that is comfortable. It doesn't have to be lotus. Anything that keeps you elevated and long in your spine. Okay, and we're bringing the hands now to Anjali Mudra and bringing the forehead down. So we gaze into our heart, taking a few moments in gratitude for your practice. And when you feel ready, lift your head, open your eyes, namaste.